Right then, Jerry, do you want to? Well, I suppose we'll do this intro, will we? Do you want to get it done?
You want me to do it?
No, I'm just saying, like, if you're ready for this, like, it's only one of the episode that we're named the podcast after. So I just, if you're
That's
ready,
very true. And I have to say, we're going to have some discussion.
we're gonna have some serious
Oh,
discussions.
fuck.
Where
Because,
I have my discussing trousers on for this.
yeah, I'm not wearing any.
Even better.
Even better. Uh, yeah, because when you think of the ramifications for this show, it actually goes so much further than you think.
I know.
So
It's
we
the
have,
thing. The more you
we have
think
so,
about it, yeah.
oh, Christ, we're here till 12. Okay, all right.
This is why we're doing this in two parts.
That's why we're doing it at half fucking six.
Yeah. Right then. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Best of All Worlds podcast here from your friends Jonathan and the man to know Jerry Soul here in the Nerds of Us channel. It is a momentous occasion, Jerry Soul, because it is our 10th episode. We've somehow reached double figures. We are not sick of each other yet. We've reached double figures on this podcast. It's incredible. It's an achievement for all of us.
When you say not sick of each other, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no, well, in fairness, like, I run the show. Anyway, look, Jerry, it is a pretty big deal. This episode has to be said because we got ourselves in the mood for a bit of Borg action.
It when you say momentous, obviously it's our 10th episode.
It is.
But when you say momentous, it does not get any bigger than this. Now, a couple of episodes ago, when we were reviewing the first Deep Space Nine episode that we did, which was
in the pale moonlight.
Thank you, pale moonlight.
You can only say that as Commander Cisco. In the pale moonlight.
Exactly. Don't say it like Kirk, for Jesus. In the pale moonlight. There you go.
In the pale moonlight.
I believed that we had found probably one of the best episodes of Star Trek ever made. But when you actually think about this one, it's obviously it's our first two-parter, so it's our first double episode. But it's not just the fact that it's the Borg. It's not just the fact of what happens in the episode. It is the ramifications from this episode. So when you think of, you just think of them like really quickly. You think, oh, okay, Borg, destruction, Picard, stuff like that. But when you actually look at what happens after this episode, holy shit, the ramifications. And we're going to have so much to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, strap yourselves in. This is going to be a long one.
It is going to be a long
and I'm
episode.
Not talking about anything dirty, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a long episode.
It's going to be a very long Borg probe. It's fair to say that, but it's probably it's like,
oh, I felt that. Oh.
I tasted it. No, in fairness, like this is the first time we're doing a two-parter, so we kind of expanded upon like already what we're doing with these type of episodes. So what we're doing essentially is watching it as if it's one full episode, like it's a TV movie essentially. And in essence, that means the two parts means it's going to be one scoring, one rating. And essentially, we'll discuss the whole thing in essentially two parts. So in this first part of the video that you're going to see is our watch along of it. So we invite you to do the same and watch along Best of All Worlds Part 1 and 2. Last episode of Season 3, first episode of Season 4, you know yourself. And then in the second part of this, episode, if you will, we are going to be doing our scoring and our guest starring and our shipyards, the whole shebang. So please do tune in for that. It'll be interesting to see actually on the traffic which one is actually people are tuning in for, because we haven't given them a choice since this point. So it's like, okay, they either want to hear our hilarious commentary or they actually want an actual opinion on an episode. So should be interesting to see which one you cater for, or maybe both. Maybe you actually quite like us. I don't know. Feel free to let us know in the comments. But Jerry, it is about time to get stuck into this.
Yes,
the episode that we named the podcast after. What a time to be alive. So, Jerry, are you ready?
I'm ready to rock.
Excellent. So, starting on 3, 2, 1, engage.
Now, I think, right, from the get-go,
music.
You know this is so much more serious than any other episode. Any other episode that just starts off nice little Star Trekkie music. It's that like
no,
it's that music right at the start. You say to yourself, No, this isn't just
Something's iffy.
any.
Yeah.
Something's off here. Something big.
Mm.
So
And
it's
there only
almost
can be one thing. That's
exactly.
the thing.
It's almost horror-like. If you look at any
it's an
horror
impending
movie,
sense of danger.
of doom, yes, yeah, absolutely.
Doom, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, granted, like I know, like we should be afraid of the Borg and all that, but since that Riker now has his beard, I have nothing to be afraid of.
No, absolutely not. And we've got a Colin Meaney.
We do. Ask me bollocks.
We have Chief O'Brien there. So,
do you think if the Borg assimilated Chief O'Brien, do you think they'd become a lot more fun?
Well, they'd say bollocks a lot.
They would. I think so.
They would.
The Borg Queen would become like
and Jesus.
Jesus, yeah.
Jesus, you know. It would definitely would. Can you imagine that? Yeah, can you imagine that? You will be assimilated, and when people say no, bollocks.
It'd be more like, you'll be grand. That's actually more impending. That'd be grand.
Be grand.
But yeah, it's important that we do actually name drop Riker here because a lot of people forget about this episode. This is an episode about Commander Riker, and we'll get into that at the end, I suppose.
Yeah, it's obviously you've got your two main characters in the whole of the two episodes.
Yeah,
it is basically what happens to Picard and what happens to Riker because of what happens to Picard.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is a very interesting take on both of them, and to see exactly how Riker deals with what's going to happen.
Yes.
The ramifications of this two-parter go throughout all of Star Trek from this point.
Yeah, like this is a very case of a ripple effect through an episode.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. There's one point I want to touch on. I don't want to say it now, but there's one point I want to touch on. I can already feel like you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I have a feeling, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. There's one thing that I would take from this episode. We're going to talk about it later. I'm not going to talk about it now.
Yes.
But I have a feeling
we're going to enjoy this episode for it is first, and then we have our dream caps on at the end. Because we were going to give ourselves the time to talk about this episode.
But for me, when it comes to this episode, this is the first real big threat.
Yes.
To our highest rated episode, which is Independent Moonlight. And if there was ever an episode that could beat it, I think it's this one.
Could be.
I think it's this one.
But like I said, it's the combined scoring of doubleheader episodes. I think is going to be in play here because both parts have to be hits. You can't have a hit or miss like some two parts can be. Again, I don't know why. I don't know if it's intentional or not. I don't know if it's because I have my critique hat on. The fact that it's Riker standing and Shelby sitting, I think, is a lovely little touch there. It's a case of like who's actually in charge of the situation here. Like Riker's kind of like standing, kind of like a bit of a spare prick in this room because you don't normally have 4 in this room. It's usually 3. But the fact that he's kind of had to stand like separate, I think, is interesting there.
But he seemed to be kind of like standing, you know.
Yeah, he's trying to like assert a little bit. I don't know why, but I love and I also hate the Admiral uniforms because they look nice, but there's also got this real kind of tacky gold trim on it. And so it's like,
I've never liked that particular uniform. No. The uniforms that I liked were, what was? Do you remember the blonde Admiral further on in Next Generation? Admiral
Nechayev. Yeah.
Her uniform was nice, and then Admiral Ross in Deep Space Nine, that was particularly nice.
Yes, with the belt on it. Yeah,
and the gray on top rather than the red and the black.
Yeah.
I've always loved his kind of camaraderie with his admirals.
Yeah.
He never really calls them admirals. He called them JP. I'm like, the fuck? That seems so close.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like, I think like for what happens later on in the episode, like if we had seen an Admiral Hansen like this before, it would have had a bit more of an emotional punch. But again, it was the nature of Star Trek at the time, where like, I mean, I remember like I think the second pilot where like, you know, they just magicked up a friend for Captain Kirk. It was like, oh, this is Gary Mitchell. You've known him for years. It's like, I have. Yes, I have known Gary Mitchell for years. It was like that one episode where like they just suddenly had like a second officer and everyone just assumed he was part of the crew. It's like, oh yeah, Mr. Patrick, whatever the fuck his name is, you know? It's like, I actually honestly love that episode because it's a bit of a piss take on the original series.
Yeah.
Where like suddenly like, oh, here's a lieutenant you never heard of before. Oh, he dies off 5 minutes in.
That happens so much in Star Trek, let's be honest.
Now, again, this is the key part here about this episode. That like this episode is about Commander Riker. The fact that like this is now, as we just heard there, he's now turned down a second command to stay on the Enterprise. He's already turned down the Drake, which we heard about in the Arsenal of Freedom, conveniently enough, and now he's turned down the USS Ares, which is another ship he's turned down.
It was the Melbourne.
Melbourne, sorry, yeah,
Melbourne.
Ares is later on, yeah. But yeah, exactly. So it's the same thing. That's the second ship he's turned down, and the Melbourne is a nice ship. Like, let's be fair.
It's an older style. It's Excelsior.
Yeah.
It is a nice ship, but you know, trying to drag somebody off a Galaxy class starship for an Excelsior, it's like,
yeah.
You know,
it is one of those, is this almost like in a football sense? Is would you rather be the star player of a mid-table team, or would you rather stay in like the top four? Is kind of the kind of weird comparison, like be a smaller cog in a big machine, or be the big cog in a small machine. Like, what would you rather? You know,
I'd rather the smaller cog in the big machine. In fairness,
yeah. Again, depends on who, and depends on the personality, I guess.
The one thing I'll notice about the new updated HD version of this is that you can notice every little bitty mistake in terms of, you know, the set, paint, stuff like that. It annoys me, but I won't. I'm not going to take points away, but it fucking annoys me.
It's when it happened in the wider screen as well, then you're going to see where like the set dressing just kind of stops.
Yeah.
It's not as bad in season 3 now, but in the first season, it's littered with them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I love a now poker scene. I don't know what it is. It's just like I love the poker device.
Yeah,
it's a great device. It really, really is. And I'm only saying that because I've written one for the RPG. That's the only reason I'm saying that. Literally, I've replicated this scene. I'm not even joking.
Yeah. I love it because I actually love playing poker.
Yeah, same.
I particularly like it when Worf is playing because he's so bad.
He's so shit at it because he can't bluff. And neither can Data. Data's go like, oh, I have a perfect hand. What are you talking about? I do love as well, like they do have to give like Data the visor just so he feels important. It's like, look at me, I'm a poker player.
Porsche should use the android to deal.
Yes. Well, to be fair, he is the quickest at it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, love it. Shut up, Will. You're full of shit, man.
Stupid Wesley. He's so shit at poker.
Yeah.
He's worse than Worf.
Good
L. Colin Meaney.
Chief O'Brien, keep an eye on his hot pockets there. Yeah, still cooking. Fair enough.
So he is he's a lieutenant, isn't he?
He's a lieutenant at the moment, yeah, and then he switches to chief petty officer later on.
Now, the one thing I noticed, I was actually watching an episode the other day of Deep Space Nine, and he had a single pip.
Yes.
Which would mean ensign. I'm like, he's not an ensign. He was a lieutenant, and then the next episode he has the proper pip. Maybe it lost her. Yeah, maybe it lost her or something like that.
I think technically like the way that ranking works is because it's actually outside of the Starfleet rankings. So in a sense, like it's almost like a civilian post almost, but he is like just there. Like he's not actually in the same way where like Troy does technically have the rank of commander. She just doesn't actually wear commander, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's until Captain Jellicoe comes in and like waves a dick around basically, which is another episode we'll get to at some point.
That's another great one.
It's a very good one, actually. Now, Data, I'm going to show you a metaphor involving worms. Fascinating. I actually quite like this set. It's very simple, it's straightforward, but it does look like it's just ravaged, you know? I will say one thing about Jonathan Frakes. He does not get the credit he deserves for being a good actor. He really, really doesn't. He is so good at subtle facial movements. You know, he really does. Like, he's someone who understands, especially when Star Trek, subtlety is very, very much rewarded.
Now, there is something that puzzles me about this particular episode. And unfortunately, it happens a lot with regards to Star Trek. This is supposed to be one of Starfleet's Federation's outermost colonies.
Yes.
If that's the case, it should be maybe 1,000 light years away from Earth, whereas it's only going to take them a couple of days to get there. I'm like,
yeah.
Is it really outermost? Like, it happens in the movies. It happens in Undiscovered Country. You know, they're talking about what being in one quadrant and another. I'm like, hold on, what? What are you talking about here?
Yeah,
what's going on here?
It's like it's a case of where, like, oh, the Delta Quadrant is so far away, but Beta Quadrant's right around the corner, lads. Right around the corner. Literally just turn left, lads. Yeah. That's it.
Well, see, the thing is, part of Federation space is in the Beta Quadrant. It's not just the Alpha Quadrant. But they always talk about, oh, we have to safeguard the Alpha Quadrant. I'm like, well, you're in the fucking Beta Quadrant as well. The Romulans are mainly from the Beta Quadrant.
Yes, exactly.
So it's a strange one. It was another episode as well when they were sending the Defiant from Deep Space Nine to Earth. It should have taken a couple of weeks. Yeah, it took a couple of hours. I'm like, what? How is that?
I suppose, like, is it also the case where, like, that obviously didn't tighten up the fact that, like, you know, like, speed obviously is a significant part of space, where they also think, like, warp space is also, like, warp from A to B and done. Whereas, like, for the purpose of a chase, it's like, oh, they'll be here in a couple of days. But they're also kind of assuming, well, a maximum warp, yeah, they would be here a couple of days. And then they start tightening up what that actually means to be a couple of times away. It's like, Jerry, they were making this shit up as they go along.
Of course they fucking were.
Now, Jerry, I'm going to postulate, because it's a lovely word, postulate, a question to you. Because this episode was at a bit of a crossroads in terms of production, because it was not guaranteed that Patrick Stewart was going to sign on for season 4. So I'll put it to you. What if we did get Captain Riker on the Enterprise? And this is essentially him getting warmed up for the seat. If Patrick Stewart didn't sign on, we end up with Captain Riker on the Enterprise.
Are you asking, would that have been a good thing? Or
yeah, like, what would you have your thoughts on it like? Because again, that has its own. It's a fascinating what if.
I think the show might have suffered a little bit without Patrick Stewart, because he was the leading man. But as Captain Riker, I think they would have been fine. I think, yeah, absolutely, it would have thrived with Captain Riker.
Yeah.
Now, would Captain Riker have had Shelby as his second in command, or would he have had Data as a second in command? You know?
Yeah. Well, I do get the feeling that perhaps Shelby was almost auditioning in a sense for this, like, in terms of, like, because there's a rapport with the crew is quite good. And if they had gone with a more continuous storyline with the Borg, there would have been a reason to have her on the ship. But certainly I think for second in command, I think for first officer, I think Troy would have got it, to be honest. Because it would have had that initial kind of like back and forth already. And I think they just would have just accelerated what happened in Insurrection, to be honest, where, like, suddenly, oh, we fancy each other again. Yeah, we do actually. Shit.
I wouldn't have liked her as second in command.
No, she would have been suited at the time. Would have been had to have been a massive character change for that. But then again, like Riker is such a more gung ho person compared to Picard. There is a kind of like if it was Riker and Troy like partnering up, it's kind of like a Beauty and the Beast system where like good cop and bad cop type of deal.
Yeah. Another thing about this episode I find very interesting is the different uniforms.
Yeah.
So you've got these uniforms now that they've been using now for the past year. Whereas you look at the two officers that are behind Riker, they're using the ones that have the gold and red line.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of the extras uniforms.
Yeah. And it's kind of like it's like the difference between these uniforms and the uniforms in Deep Space Nine. They're both used concurrently.
Yeah.
Whereas when it comes to First Contact and then Deep Space Nine after that, they're all wearing the same.
That's it. They actually kind of like, in a way, they actually started like remembering, oh shit, yeah, actually just like wardrobe is very important for these shows. And we can't just cobble it together what we had. Like the same way we're like, the whole cast of Generation had to use the Voyager uniforms. And in some people, you can clearly tell. It's like, oh no. Because like Riker is like bet into fucking, I think, Chakotay's uniform and his like sleeves come up to here. It's like, mate. And wonder people don't like that movie. I quite like that shot of having the Enterprise just in the background there. That was interesting. Just like Picard in the bottom there and the Enterprise behind them. Like that was interesting. They have nailed the music in this episode already, by the way.
Yeah. Like even look this shot here of the two Picards.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
But left alone to his thoughts as well. I think this is the scene I love in this episode.
And just that music.
Yeah.
It's building.
Yeah, tension. There's your answer. There it is. They're here. There we go.
Now, when it came to this episode, I said to myself, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a little bit of Q. Oh, we were going to get a little bit of Q. But when it didn't happen, you just know, well, that's it.
Yeah.
They're fucked.
Yeah, in that sense, the Q has kind of left Picard to go, well, when you're ready.
I gave you your warning.
Yeah. You had 2 years. You didn't use them. Do you like how there's like a literal river of shit flowing in the middle of the screen there? This is where we put all of our poops. Our poops have been assimilated. All your base belong to us. Did that bitch just cut us off? Shoot that son of a bitch. We have developed new defense capabilities since our last meeting, and we are prepared to use them if you do not withdraw from Federation space. Captain, modulating mutation. Mutation's not a word. Oh, sassy.
Even the look that she gave.
Was it the?
She's like, "Fuck you, Riker."
Yeah. Have you tried moving, lads? Get out of the fucking way. Boom, boom, boom.
This is the first time you genuinely see them firing all weapons.
Yeah, even the ones in the cells, apparently.
Yeah, like there was times when you'd say fire all weapons, and it's like a single fucking phaser, and maybe a torpedo. This
The
is
fire
like
weapon, and everyone
all
shifts to the
weapons
right.
are firing.
All right, it comes. Nice. You know it's serious shit when engineering gets fucked out. Ah, Geordi in her combat role. He loves doing that. He fucking loves doing that.
Even though there was no need to do it there.
No, it's just like this is the one lesson I learned. Nice. They have started to work on the lighting of the Borg a little bit there. I noticed. Doesn't look as drab as the
green.
First cube.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get the fuck away from my view screen. Sit the fuck down, Shelby. This really reminded me of the Wrath of Khan, by the way. This nebula.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
very
nebula,
reminiscent. Yeah. I'm just kind of waiting for like the remnants of the fucking Reliance to be just floating around going. He's just there in carbonite. From Elsat. It's a good thing they don't actually have like windows on the Borg cube where you can just look outside to see the lights.
Yeah. This is the thing, right? Again, another one of these things that happens is sizes.
Yes.
The Borg cube is supposed to be huge and a lot bigger than the Enterprise. But when you see it stop there, it's like it's only maybe 2 or 3 times bigger.
Yeah.
And then eventually when you see the Enterprise come out, you can see how like fuck they haven't done that right.
I know, yeah. The very much a conceit sometimes with like how big are these ships meant to be?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like sometimes the production crew just don't pay attention to the actual run sheets, you know. It's one thing that always annoys me about the Kelvin movies, the fact that the ships are so much bigger than the kind of prime timeline, if you like. And that kind of annoys me so much because it's actually kind of unneeded. They don't need to be that big. I know like there's like narrative reasons for it, but from a movie size, it said, fuck, let's just make a huge ship. Man, I was like, fuck off, there's no reason for it to be.
The Kelvin Enterprise is on par in size with the Galaxy class.
It's, I think, bigger, I think.
It might be long. It might be longer, I think.
Yeah.
It's huge compared to the original Constitution.
It's just redundant. And
I hated their warp core and their engineering. It was shite.
Yeah, too clean. Mm-hmm. The real Scotty wouldn't have had it that clean.
Nah.
I'm actually loving Jonathan Frakes in this episode.
He is brilliant in this, in fairness.
It's the small things, it's the sideways glance, it's the posture, it's the The gas thing is, we never hear of Commander Shelby after this episode, which I find remarkable. I think she might be mentioned once or twice in terms of Starfleet Tactical, but otherwise she doesn't actually get a nod in.
I would have liked to see her.
Yeah.
She did head up the task force.
Yeah, she did.
That would ultimately have Cisco part of.
Yes.
He was part of the task force as well. So it's interesting that they never used her again. Maybe it was just they didn't want to use a different actress and she wasn't available or something. I think
that had to do it. I think, yeah.
She did appear, I believe, in Lower Decks. There was an episode that Shelby was in Lower Decks. Whether it was actually the actress or not, I don't know.
Yes, I'll have to double check that now. But yeah, could be right.
Very strange to see Worf standing there as well.
It's like
because he's in command.
He's like, I'm fired. Oh,
fire up! No, it's a nebula.
This is like, can I set fire to a nebula? Would anyone be mad if I set fire to a nebula? This is fucking great. There are some fantastic scenes in this episode, and that's one of them. And there is the catching line for this episode. Because again, the what if is that if Picard is taken by the Borg permanently and Riker is the one to step in, that's a case of like Riker would defeat the Borg and is able to make the big decision. And there we have the catching line.
You can see they're just the subtle little green lights on the side there. They're starting to get the green into it.
Starting to get there, yeah. As you can see. On this night, I contemplate the distinct possibility that no defense may be adequate against. This is another one of my favorite scenes as well.
Oh,
just to patrol the ship.
Just give me more of Guinan.
Does she normally sit in the corner like that, just waiting for people to come in, going, surprise?
Yeah, she's a bit of a creep.
Hello, all of our Elorians sit in corners. It's a cultural custom. We also like wearing funny hats. We realized after 1,000 years that it was, in fact, the funniest thing in the in space. Again, a lovely little catching line there as well. You know, for a fact that Guinan was probably there at the battle with a fucking bag of popcorn or something.
Probably. I love that line.
That's a great, yeah. Again, I mentioned in the last episode how things like Mass Effect have taken the Borg kind of almost pro bono to their big bads as the Reapers, where the Reapers do actually make it to Earth and they do invade Earth. And it's a case of like, it's almost taking that point of where maybe it's just humanity's turn to just get wiped out and move on from there. And it's almost like if the people who kind of wrote that like game, that was their takeaway from this episode, was they say, what happens if the Borg did win type of deal. And it should be, it's just nice seeing like the inspiration of it coming from this. I believe they call them Marco Polos in the Star Trek universe. That was a polo.
System integrity breached. Commanding is out of here, number one. If it's happened, also we clear the nebula and punch it up to warp 9. Ready, let's load forward torpedo base. Engage.
Boom.
Now look at the size.
Yes.
One tractor beam is attempting to lock on. I will continue rotating shield frequency. Shield failing. Tractor beam has locked on.
Oh shit! Here it comes. Boom. Headshot. You know for a fact Worf really enjoyed that one. Yeah.
Boom.
Nice.
Now, in fairness, Worf should have been up immediately there.
Should have been, yeah. I love the guy's pose just like, yes!
With a soda in his mouth.
Yeah, this is like,
fuck's sake, Worf, you're supposed to protect the captain.
you're literally, that is literally your only purpose. Tasha Yar would have headbutted that Borg.
Like I always look at, Worf only becomes really good when he gets long hair.
Yeah, he's like Samson.
Yeah. When he
Only
has short
like,
hair, he's shite Worf.
Yeah, Bushido Worf is the best type of Worf.
Mhm. I love that they call it the Terran system.
Terran system, yeah.
I do. I love that.
Yeah. It should always be referred to that.
But I it's like, why weren't we called Terrans then instead of humans?
No idea. Like some, like I suppose, like yeah, it's a tough one. I suppose like with Klingons are referred to that, but they're like their home planet is called
Kronos.
Kronos. Thank you. So should they call them the Chronosians or whatever? You know, so it's I suppose like they do 20.
Well, we're from Earth, but we're not called Earthlings. We're called humans.
Humans, yeah.
You know.
I suppose it depends on what we prefer to be called, I guess.
Yeah, it's like Bajorans are from Bajor, Cardassians, Cardassia. Romulans are from Romulus, whereas Klingons are from Kronos.
Yeah.
So there's the one kind of big difference.
Mm.
Impossible. My culture is based on freedom and self-determination. You must comply. You would rather die. Death is irrelevant.
The Borg believe in reincarnation. Let's pass it on. See, that's interesting because like they don't do that for other species.
No.
So in a sense, why are humans so special? Is it because the fact that like all like aliens just go, well, we'll just get assimilated, so that's it. Queue up, lads.
They just knew that they weren't going to comply, but it's like every other race they've gone up against, they just send in 50 cubes and be done with it. Like,
yeah.
Whereas this was something different. And I think it was because humans seem to be the exact race.
Yeah,
the exact race that they wanted. I was like, that would help them in their own evolution, we'll say.
Yeah. I think it's always a kind of a conceit in sci-fi where like if you're to do like a top trumps of like kind of like different races, humans always seem to be the ones that have the most potential. It's a case of like, well, these can become literally anything, whereas for some reason other races seem to have already maxed out or established their limits.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a weird one.
It's like what we were saying there. When you look at the Federation and look at the original founding members of the Federation,
Yeah.
yes, humans were a bit more scrappy, but the ones with the technology were the Vulcans and the Andorians.
Mm.
So why didn't go there? Like there again, look how big the Enterprise is compared to the Borg Cube. Like, lads.
Yeah. It's they just overlap the two shots and they haven't scaled it back. Yeah.
We only get to use each of these once, maybe twice, before we learn to adapt. Don't fire until
The gas thing is, like, I always remember laughing at in the First Contact movie and how, like, you know, Picard, like, literally tears a Borg to shreds with a Tommy gun. If they had discovered that beforehand, literally all of these guys would be carrying AKs at this point, wouldn't they? Because clearly the projectile like weapons seem to work more, or at least you can chop and change, you can alternate, you know.
Why doesn't Worf have his bat'leth with him?
I was about to ask that question. Like, could you not have had like 4 different people with 4 different like fighting styles? Like Data could have used kung fu, and like Crusher could have had a big fucking massive like shotgun. Klingon, Worf's got his bat'leth, as you said.
Yeah,
you know, you could have completely befuddled them. You could have blue haven them just by walking on.
Like you look at it in a future episode, Data is far superior in strength to a Borg, so he could have just taken them on with brute strength.
You put essentially, yeah. You just have to get him angry first. What I will say here is they have definitely improved on the Borg sets since Q2. Mm-hmm. This is brilliant. It looks so claustrophobic. It's fantastic.
Claustrophobic, again, but the walls almost seem organic.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Like everything is flowing.
The Geiger inspiration, definitely.
Yep. It's very like Aliens. I fucking love that.
Exactly, yeah.
But this was the part where you see the back piece, the glass. You can see it there now.
Yeah,
it was their first iteration, the first inspiration for that. And then when it comes to the movies, the newer one, kind of like the energy, so electricity.
Well, I'll put it to you, like, because it's kind of like an LCAR's kind of layout. Do you think they nicked that off the Enterprise? Considering they did like take a piece off the Enterprise.
I'd imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah.
They learned and adapted from everything.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, a moment in history. Someone actually listens to Dr. Crusher.
Well, it was bound
something
to happen.
That doesn't happen in 3 of the fucking movies.
You barely saw Crusher really in any of those movies.
Yeah, she was literally just there. So it's like, I have a scene and it's cut.
I strongly recommend redeploying all available defenders to protect Sector 001.
That name will go down in history.
That it will.
22 minutes they stay at their current speed. If we can't bring them out of warp, we'll do as much damage as we can before we have to disengage.
Yeah, he's in the Borg nursery. I feel like they just left the clothes there. It's like, well, this is the Borg wardrobe. It's gonna look absolutely fab pun.
You look at a lot of other instances with the Borg. They didn't remove clothing or uniforms. They just assimilated them and it went around them.
Yes.
Like, remember Ensign Lynch?
Oh,
he got shot with a Tommy gun. He was still wearing the fucking comm badge.
Yeah.
Well, he was a full Borg.
Yes. I suppose, like, if they were to do like the kind of proverbial reboot, you could do the case where the Borg nanites literally just like it actually envelops the clothes as well, and the armor goes across it, because in theory the nanites could be that effective. Can I just point out, by the way, how such a video game solution this is? It's like destroy 3 Borg nodes to get their attention.
No, here we go.
Yeah, here comes the first wave. Defend your tower. Oh, more Borg are approaching. Defend your tower.
Sir, they've got it. The Borg ship is dropping out of warp. I said, sir, more power to meet the vector.
Here we go.
We're roughly within 40,000 kilometers of max velocity. For this atomic sequence, increase the deflector modulation to upper frequency band.
Here.
The music and all.
Mm.
Brilliant.
Nice shot.
Right in the balls.
Mm-hmm. That was a good bump.
Mhm.
Prepare to beam us back on my signal.
Oof, good shot. And he fucked up the set as well.
For a doctor, she's not bad.
Yeah. I suppose, like, again, you know, she has the rank of commander. She has to have the skill set to go with.
Yeah.
Oh, this is brilliant. What a fucking moment this is.
Yeah.
God damn it, Worf.
You actually see it. He obviously did it wrong. His foot went through it.
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, the stank eye there from Worf was like.
He is a Borg.
Is it more? I'm really upset about this. On the plus side, second in command.
Subspace field fluctuations from within the Borg ship. Looks like they're regenerating, restoring power. They could be capable of warp any minute.
He's alive. If we get back to the ship, I might be able to restore.
This is our only chance to destroy them. If they get back into warp, our weapon is useless.
We'll sabotage them again if we have to.
We can't maintain power. We don't have the time. They're fine.
At least consult with Starfleet Command. Get out of that subspace.
Belay that order, Lieutenant. There's no time. Sir, we're being hailed by the board. On screen.
What a shot this is, by the way.
Yeah, all the Borg
What a
surrounding
shot.
him.
Yeah.
Resistance. Your life, as it has been, is over.
Like that shot right
Yeah.
there.
Service. Us.
The laser just pointing at the screen.
Yeah.
Mr. Warren.
Oh. Absolutely fucking legendary. I am challenging anyone to find a better cliffhanger than that in terms of like sci-fi of TV. I can't think of another one. I honestly can't. I honestly can't.
No.
Wow. So we have a minute of respite before the next episode. I think we need a breather there. So
Yeah.
fucking hell. Yeah, that's something. That really is something. Poor bastards at the time. He's had to wait all summer to find out what happens in the next episode. That's so harsh, isn't it? Like,
It's
wow.
horrible.
Yeah, like fucking hell. Still though, all the same, what a great way to start off your season, though, to see what the fuck
Yeah.
happens next. And again, no idea what's going to happen. No clue. Like this, it literally was touch and go in terms of Picard signing up. I think they had an inclination, but at this point, you weren't to know. So
Is yours going to go straight in, or
I let the credits roll, so I'm
Okay.
10 seconds away, Jerry.
okay?
I'm going to wait through all. I'm finding out about all the different dialects for the next version.
Because mine went straight into the episode, so I've had to rewind it back to the start.
Lovely, grand. I shall count us in then. So I'm going to start off at 0-0.
Yeah.
Jerry, you're at 0-0. All right then. So we're going to jump into the second episode on 3, 2, 1, engage.
Last time on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Some space message to FLS.
Yeah, what I love about this as well is that this is the first time they've ever done a two-parter episode. Star Trek in The Next Generation was. There was one in the original series, but yeah, this one just felt differently. It was like
Proper cliffhanger, though. Proper cliffhanger.
proper cliffhanger, and also so well done that they have done it like a few times for every season. Like they have now almost obliged to end on a two-parter.
Yeah.
And they've done different things with the cliffhangers, but it has never hit the same way as this.
No, the only other thing that I can think of that might hit the same way, or even close, would be who shot Mr. Burns.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, that's a good point. Fuck yeah, that's a good point. I think in the Star Trek sense, I'm trying to think was there any properly good cliffhanger? I suppose the Equinox one was quite good, though, wasn't it?
Equinox is good. Unimatrix 1.
Oh, Unimatrix 0. Yeah, that was a good clip. Yeah, that was a good one too. Yeah.
Or Unimatrix 0, whatever it was. Yeah.
I would say the one that I think the
Scorpion.
one from the end. Oh yes, Scorpion's good. Yes.
And again, that's another Borg episode.
It is, yeah.
The first time you ever find out that there's another race that the Borg cannot assimilate, they cannot beat, they can't even destroy them.
Yeah. You find a race that's stronger than the Borg.
Now, arguably, there is another race in Voyager that would be stronger than the Borg.
Yeah.
And that was what was the name of that episode? It was the one where basically they found that dinosaurs had evolved, and the Voth.
Oh yes,
the Voth.
And the distant theory or something like that.
That's
wasn't
it.
Yes. Okay, here we go, lads. Stand off.
Deflector power approaching maximum limits. Energy discharge in 6 seconds.
You just knew, though, at this point, when you saw this happening, you was like, well, it's not going to work. You just knew it wasn't going to work.
I think it was also the case where, like, even when Riker goes, he's not moving. They're not going away. I think everyone's standing up for this. Like, Data, take your post. Sorry, Captain.
Yeah.
So excited.
There's actually somebody sitting in Data's chair.
I always did love that about Star Trek, where, like, you know, so the main character walks on and everyone just goes, well, I'll fuck off then.
That point there, though.
Yeah.
You're number one. And he just says it, and you're like, oh.
You bitch. How bitchy, how sassy can you get as a boy?
No, let's say it like Chief O'Brien. Ah, yeah, bastard.
Ah, yeah, bastards. It was very much a case of, here, leave it out. Leave it fucking out.
I actually met that woman.
I'm not surprised.
I met the woman who said it. I met the 2 Brazilian guys that were beating the crap out of the junkies, and I met the two junkies.
And you get them all on for your podcast 10 years after the famous viral video.
All on together, and we'll get a circle of love.
We all have a laugh about it, lads. Oh, you had to be there. We can all look back and laugh at it now. So, like, I do love in the sense I'm trying to get back in the headspace of someone watching this for the first time. And that's the opening scene where you know the weapon hasn't worked. So then you look at his open titles going, what the fuck happens next? This is a full episode of like presumably the resolution to this.
Yeah, but it's like you're looking at it going, well, they can't beat them.
Yeah. That's it.
Everything they've done, they cannot beat them.
Yeah.
There's literally nothing. So it's like the Borg are going to engage this fleet. What's going to happen? But you don't, even then, you don't envision what's about to happen.
No.
Like literally the biggest massacre in all of Star Trek. You don't envision that happening. Because it's Star Trek. You don't envision what they're about to do.
Yes. They always win in the end. That's always been the premise.
Stardate 44001.4. Borg ship has resumed its course toward Earth. We are unable to pursue pending repairs to the engines. As we anticipated, the blast burned out our main navigational deflector. We also have damage to our shields and the reactor core.
We should be back up in 8 to 12 hours now.
Yeah, that's what we call it.
A little later, we'll be there, sir.
Valuable time. Ooh.
You realize, Admiral, that with the assistance of Captain Picard, the Borg will be ready for your defenses.
I'm pretty sure Patrick Stewart was actually a runner in his day as well. So this is quite accurate.
Of course, sir.
One way of putting it.
Then we have abandoned all hope of
Cup of tea, sir. Thank you.
Various things did kind of bug me about this episode. Again, not something that I'm going to mark it down for.
Yeah.
You look at it and you go, they've established a fleet of 40 starships. And that's just for starters. The Klingons are going to come in and probably help them. And then presumably more ships from elsewhere.
Yeah.
Where's the starbase at Earth?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where is it?
Not even
Where's
that.
the orbital? Where's the starbase? Where's the orbital platforms? Where's the, there would have been ships at Utopia Planitia at Mars. The Borg just bypassed it. They just went straight for Earth. No starbase, no orbital defenses, no orbital platforms whatsoever. Just Earth.
I suppose you'd argue that they only maybe they could have put those orbital plants in now because they know they're under threat. So you could argue again quite naively that Earth was defenseless because they didn't have any more enemies. Because every war up to this point had been done. They were not fighting the Cardassians anymore. The Romulan War was long gone. And any kind of other, I suppose, confrontation was outside of Earth space completely.
This bit here, though.
Yeah.
That right there. There's some of him left.
Yes. Very important part of the episode and is often very much missed. Again, it's a very small thing, but I like how Jonathan Frakes has immediately jumped into captain mode. The posture is different. The way he's talking to people, he's actually commanding. It suits. It actually really did suit him, I have to say.
That is our greatest advantage.
accelerated coils are responding normally.
Excellent. Borg shield at 58% ash shields. Sensors must be down.
Check. Sensors are fine.
I think one thing I love about Shelby is that she gets stuck in. She properly does try and help the ship out. Yeah.
She obviously is very ambitious. She's one of the most ambitious people you ever see in Star Trek. But
Hmm.
It's not like she's just going to try and float her way through this. She gets in there, she gets her hands dirty, and she kicks some ass. She wants to prove that she can beat the Borg. And then afterwards, you're like, well, I beat the Borg. You might as well give me a command here, you know?
Hint, fucking hint, you know? Yeah.
But you say to yourself, why not?
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
not? Like,
but bear in mind, like with the like we are told like she is part of the kind of current crop of Starfleet officers coming through. Like she is the top of the top. And as you said, like another name that is in that kind of bracket with her is Benjamin Sisko.
yeah.
And you look at how Sisko handled himself during the Dominion War.
Yeah.
It does make you wonder what Shelby would have been up to around that time. Like she was probably a big part of that too.
I'd have loved to know exactly what she was doing.
Yeah.
Obviously, when it comes to the Borg, Shelby then takes up the task force.
Yes.
Obviously, during that time as well, Sisko joins the task force to help create these weapons against the Borg. They're essentially creating warships. They're not going to call them warships, but they're essentially creating warships.
In fact, they're warships, yeah.
But we'll get more into that in our talk because I have a lot to talk about.
We do. We certainly do. Like I said, there's a reason why we're doing this in 2 episodes, lads.
Yeah.
I always find it interesting how they have like immediately started to develop the Riker Shelby partnership in case there are a partnership, even though at this point in the production they probably do know that Picard is staying.
We're into the next season now.
Yeah,
you can tell though that there are subtle little differences between how they look.
Yeah,
so obviously that cliffhanger was filmed at one point, and this episode is filmed at another point. So there are subtle difference. When you look at Shelby's hair from the end of the last episode to the start of this one, it's different. So you can tell, even if it's only a day or two, it's different. Even his hair is different. He had more of a parting in the previous episode than he does now.
He had thicker hair here. Yeah, you're right.
4002.3. Prepare the fleet. The Enterprise is working to rendezvous with Starfleet at Wolf 359. Communications from the site of battle have been cut off, possibly due to Borg interference.
Yeah, interference is a word of calling that.
Yeah. You can actually tell how pissed off Worf is there.
Yeah. He thought he was going to get it.
Yeah.
Where you are.
He said, as soon as he says reluctantly, she gets a little smile on her face.
Yeah.
Like, and Worf is like, fucking bitch.
Fire torpedoes.
He's like, I'm so gonna fart on you.
It's a case of like, if I was on my homeland, I would have fought her for her death. The other thing is, I don't get the logic there with Riker because like he needs you where you are, where Picard knows you are. It's just like, but if he has all of your knowledge, surely you should fuck everything up and have like literally everything change. Like he comes up on screen and it's fucking like Wesley in charge. It's like, oh, thank God I found you, Picard. It's 10 years in the future. And they're completely going, what? No, fuck. All I can think of is jazz. That would have lightened the mood, wouldn't it? You just get the drum out of.
They could have done a bit of.
They're going like, you know, I'm not one for speeches, so I'll just let this do the music. Apparently, that was a very common thing he used to do on set. Was just like start singing the theme song, which I love, by the way. It's a case of like, and the scene's over. No.
Now you say to yourself, right? If he were to change that around, change the radio around, how would he have changed? Would he got rid of the fish? Would he have had his old ship, the Pegasus?
Yeah, he'd have the Pegasus there, I think. Yeah.
What type of ship was the Pegasus again? Actually,
It was it was one of those. Oh, I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, it's no birth,
Ulysses?
wasn't
Ulysses, isn't it?
it? I don't know.
Could be on
I love
Earth, actually.
I love the fact that she just rocks in and
I
gets
love
in the
that. Yeah,
captain's chair, like.
it's like big dick energy. Fuck you, Riker. This is also a fantastic scene, by the way.
Mm.
Like, I will say one thing about this episode: it is packed full of fantastically well executed scenes.
Mm.
If you haven't heard, I got killed there yesterday. We tried to kill whatever that is on the Borg ship.
And again, as far as I know, this is the first interaction we get between Guinan and Riker, at least on screen.
Yeah.
They do not have the same rapport as him and as her and Picard.
Mm.
I mean, again, if hypothetically, it would have been fascinating to see how that leads into things in the future. Like how would she become the confidant like she is for Picard? Would have had a completely different like viewpoints? Would they have clashed? Would they be different?
Or would she have stayed?
Would she exactly? Fair point. Very fair point.
Book on this ship. It's time. Let go, Riker.
Again, another fantastic catch in line there. They've been, what I will say about the writing is that they have been very, very obvious with how the episode is going. But it's almost a case of like, it's expecting the people to go, no, I don't want to get rid of Picard. It's a case of like admitting the fact that you have to do something completely different. Now, granted, it's not quite like, poisoning a planet or getting a Romulan senator killed, but
like even the music that's playing now.
Mm. Oh, that was a Picard maneuver. You little shit.
On my way.
Another great scene.
Yeah.
Slow to impulse. Take her to the battle coordinates, Mr. Riker.
There's certain things about the scene that I love. Very small, very nuanced things.
No active subspace fields. Negligible power readings. Visual contact. On screen.
Tolstoy. Kyushu. The Elder.
The ship you could have been on, Riker. You could have been assimilated too.
The ship that Riker would have been on. And let's be honest, these ships were not assimilated. These ships were destroyed.
Destroyed. Yeah. They were not interested in assimilating the ships. They wanted Earth. There. Yeah, there. Right on the far side is a Constitution class. Just on when it'll come at the shot now on the left hand side. Because it just tells you, yeah, if it can beat up Kirk's ship, it can beat up any ship.
Of course, the Borg ship, sir. As a crusher set in a course that follows those curves. Commander Sheldon, prepare to initiate your plan to separate the saucer section while we find the Borg.
So I must remind you that Captain Picard was briefed on that plan. The Borg will be prepared for it.
I'm aware of that, Commander. Back up, Captain.
Oh, I love that little. Will Wheaton's really dog. He good in this episode.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but there's not a bad performance in either of these episodes.
There really isn't.
Not a single one. Even with like Worf at times can be very Vulcan-like, like emotionless, completely emotionless. But in this, he's showing like how displeased he is. You're like,
I was going to say, everyone has been really, really subtle in their performances, and it's helping the episode out so fucking much.
Yeah.
The fact that it's actively selling you on the thread of this.
Like even this set now where he's looking at the screen, but it's not a screen, it's just like a virtual display.
Yeah.
It's fucking brilliant.
It's great. And the first time they've done it too. Like I know there's a few scenes they use that weren't done in they use up some of these scenes in Deep Space Nine in a couple of years' time, which they've obviously shot beforehand. But yeah, no, this is very well done.
I'm not Locutus. Knowledge and experience part of you. Then you know that I've never lied to you. You should also implicitly trust me. Is that not so? God basically trusts you. Then trust me now. Need to discuss your terms. Discussion is irrelevant. There are no terms. You will disarm all your weapons and escort us to Sector 001, where we will begin assimilating your culture and technology.
Go on, Gleason, fuck him up.
Within 30 meters of it, sir.
He's obviously a bit of Irish in him now as well.
Yeah.
Borg have adapted their electromagnetic field to prevent main transporter function, sir.
Those NES controllers really did fix things.
For assimilation.
Oh, sassy.
And take your best shot, Locutus, because we are about to intervene.
Oof.
Reset.
And then you get look at the music now. The
Yeah.
music is jumping in. You're like, oh, like we're ready for
Yeah.
this shit, man.
Ready for separation. Auto subsequence initiated.
I always loved this.
Always a bonus point for
Always
sauce
loved this.
separation. Always a bonus point.
Well, it's 10 out of 10 there straight away.
Yeah, that's it.
Velocity 100 meters per second and increasing, sir.
Open fire. All weapons.
Fire.
No tractor beam attempting to lock on, sir.
Evasive maneuvers.
There's Riker Alpha. We move to the left. Revolutionary.
What I
Oh
find
God,
strange,
he's rewriting the book on Starfleet tactics.
Yeah. What I find strange about the Borg cube is that they only ever have one tractor beam,
Yes.
whereas in other things they have multiple tractor beams.
Yeah. Sparkles. Yes, we're going to dazzle them. Razzmatazz.
I want to point something out as well, is that this is still the Enterprise. There are families, kids on
Yes.
board that ship.
May I say they're getting a fantastic light show at the moment.
Mhm.
I love this. I love the way they've done this, by the way. Very well done. Have to give them props for that.
Like, look at it. Now, you see, I actually see it there. It actually has multiple tractor beams.
Yeah, but it's using different ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Station for the shuttle. Data, cut your engines. Anchor in unpowered. Penetrated the Borg electromagnetic field. Understood?
Again, he kind of fucked the scale up on that one, but however, it's all that counts.
Shuttle escape transporter should provide enough power to beam us on the Borg ship from here, sir.
Proceed.
Fairness, they were the two most logical. Worf being an absolute badass and Data being an absolute badass.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing about the staff on the Enterprise is that they weren't combat oriented, but of course they weren't needing to be.
Mm.
You know, it wasn't a case where, like, you know, in Deep Space Nine we had people like learn hand-to-hand combat, or like in Voyager where they had an actual serial killer on board.
Yeah.
You know, horses for courses is what I'd say.
Right in the gut.
Yeah. Take down your chest plate. Oof. Picard's going, oh, don't mind me. No, stop, don't move.
That just goes to show you the sheer strength that Picard has as a Borg, that he's
Yes.
able to fight Worf. Like,
Mission accomplished. We have it. Firing shuttle thrusters.
There we
Up,
go.
yeah, boy, yeah.
They cleared the Borg field, sir. Beam them out of there, Mr. O'Brien. Locked in.
Boom. And look at O'Brien does it again.
Fucking get in there. Hope you bio.
Transport successful, sir.
And he'd be like, oh, that deserves a point.
He's there already cracking up a can going, all right, there we go. On to Earth, lads. Hope you bio. Again, let's just stand perfectly stationary and just pretend that everything is fine.
The saucer section is disabled.
Reading subspace field fluctuations from the Borg ship. Looks like they're getting ready to increase power. Stand by until report. Nice.
The saucer section's a sitting duck.
Ready to throw their fire? Captain, the Borg ship is moving away.
Let's go on.
Observe, sir.
I do like. I think that I will have a few thoughts on the actual plan here to rescue Picard himself. Was the case of like the Borg just going like, why would you do that? What? No, we're just going to go like target the planets.
Mhm.
Fuck this guy.
Studying structural changes on moon patterns.
There we go. Listen, we won't get to the movies, but one thing I love about First Contact was that Picard knew where to hit the cube.
Yeah.
It's never actually explained where he actually hits them, but apparently, according to the executive producers, yeah, that was the basically the toilet. It was the waste management area. That's where the weak point was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because you look at it and you're like, even Data says it doesn't seem to be a vital system. And he's like, trust me, Data. And they just, boom, knocked the bejesus out of it. Now, you see
Yes.
the difference between now and then. Again, it's something you'll have to talk about later on.
Yes.
But the difference between now and then is literally zero damage to this Borg cube.
Mm.
But then you look at the one that attacks in First Contact, big difference.
Yes.
40% of its
because
outer
the
hull
upgraded
had
all
been
shit.
destroyed.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa. So we'll get to that again. Another thing we're going to get to later on because we have so much to talk about.
I have to say, like, we are going to be talking a lot about it, but the way that Picard looks on this now looks so well.
Yeah.
Especially now when you can kind of see it in the proper lighting and how the actual armor looks.
And again, the
It doesn't-
HD really
Yeah.
brings it out. Like,
While they continue.
Even the wire that looks so fucking unpleasant. Like, even as a concept, it's like, why would you have a massive like tube going from side to side like that?
I've only noticed something now. See the kind of the face mask. There's
Yes.
a bit just above his eye that's moving. I've never
Yes.
noticed that before.
It's robotic, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That moves independently as well. That's not him shaking. That's it. That's it on a hinge, like flapping away like that.
That's under control.
Signals are interacting with the subspace domain, so the besides the discretes on the basis of Borg's collective consciousness, every one of them possibly several occasions witnessed the Borg removing key circuits from major components, no doubt separating them from consciousness. Self-destruct. Find a way to reach it. Must know.
These interactive signals, it would only microsurgery I could do. As long as these organ threads are functioning, there's no way I can separate the man from the machine.
Perhaps there's a way I can access the machine.
That's a
'Cause I'm
very
a
interesting. There's a very interesting part there, though. She said it would be something as simple as microsurgery. I could do it.
Yes.
So, how far advanced did the Borg get between this encounter and Voyager? So, we're talking a couple of years here, but not that
Yes.
long. Only a
No.
couple of years, maybe 3 or 4 is all you're talking about here.
I'm
But
about to say,
yes,
because we don't actually, we only see the only actual level of assimilation we saw was him on the board, on the, like, getting zapped initially, getting transported out, and then essentially being made to comply, and then all the parts put in. So the actual idea of the nanites didn't really come apparent until first contact.
yeah. But you say to yourself, how, like, they obviously got so much more advanced in a couple of years from this to then, because the doctor is a highly advanced holographic doctor.
Yes.
And even he had trouble removing the implants to the point where with 7 of 9, he couldn't remove them all.
Yeah. And
know?
one thing to remember about Crusher as well, I think it is established in the previous episode, she is an expert in nanotechnology. Like, she has gone to conferences about nanites and microbes before. So that is her specialty. So in a sense, the perfect doctor to have on the ship when this is going on.
So there you go. Planetary defenses from, was it Jupiter?
Jupiter,
they send in a couple of shitty little shuttles and they boom, 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 they're gone.
Mild shock about that.
But if that is Jupiter, then where are the Earth defenses?
On the other side, it's like, oh shit, they targeted from Europe side?
Because
God, no, we're fucked.
From reading stuff in the past, it states that there was one of the books and one of the encyclopedias, it states that a starbase would be equivalent to a Borg cube in firepower.
Yes.
Now, obviously, the main difference is that, you know, the Borg can adapt, but a starbase's shields are different to a ship's shields. They would be far more powerful. So imagine a starbase actually going up against a Borg cube would, at the very least, be able to handle it for a few hours.
You think so?
But
wouldn't
there's
you?
no starbase. Like,
down.
Starbase is around Earth. We know it's there, but yet it's nowhere to be seen during this episode.
Like you said, it is a case that the Borg just skipped them. It's like, nah, fuck you. No, you're not a threat, basically.
Yeah. Now, this would have been the first time we've seen Chief O'Brien outside the transporter room, except for, I think, maybe the first series when he was at the helm.
Yes, that's right.
At the battle bridge. So this would be the first time you've seen him outside the transporter room since then.
And being used as an engineer as well.
Yes.
Crucially. Yeah.
So that's where, like, obviously, this is where the idea of him becoming Chief O'Brien kind of came from.
Yeah. And being used in a more general kind of form, as opposed to being the transporter chief. I do like Borg. I do like Data's lab here. It's a lovely little set here they have for him. They don't use it that much.
Now, there you go. That's all they sent.
That was terrible.
I'm assuming this is this Mars?
That was Jupiter there behind it. No, that was Mars, because there's no moon there.
Now, again, Mars is the main shipbuilding facility of Starfleet.
Yeah.
Literally dozens of not star bases, but you know what I'm talking about, shipyards. And nothing.
Nothing at all, huh? Nothing at all.
Come on, lads, like, Jesus. Like, I know it made this more suspenseful.
Yes.
Because you're like, oh, now there's nothing that stands between the Borg and Earth. You know?
Yeah, it was a bit of a conceit for tension, I think.
Yeah. Big word for an Irishman to say.
It is, yeah. You can see he had the script on the wall there. It's like, your subsection matrices are getting bigger. No, I'll tell you again. Fuck it. Yes, finally, my telekinesis is my powers and thingies. Yes, I can detect them now.
I always loved Data's makeup.
Yeah. I love that literally his brain is just like thousands of LEDs. Oh, I just noticed that now. It's flashing more intensely. I like that.
Yeah.
I've only noticed that now. fuck you.
Good luck. See you later, pal. And
Yeah.
Chief O'Brien is just like, fuck that.
Fucks, Jesus.
And again,
That's
we're
enough.
seeing the raw strength of Data, easily able to handle a Borg.
It's like, I think I broke the captain.
Sir, they love their LED lights. And
They really did. It's like, holy shit, we've just discovered this.
Picard's like, fuck, what do I do now?
It was like, that was my one and only thing. You broke my thing. Mom. Oh, now he's using his human arm. Well,
You communicate with them, Data? I've been unable to create a neural path around the Borg implants, sir. It is Captain Picard himself who has somehow managed to initiate contact. Sir, the Borg have halted their approach to Earth.
We got their attention.
I can answer. 2 minutes, 4 seconds, sir. Don't worry. Don't worry because we have access to Picard. Mr. Data, we have 2 minutes to figure out what we can do with it. Sir, it is clear the Borg are either unwilling or unable to terminate their subspace links.
That may be their Achilles heel, Captain. They're
How
injured-
airy is Patrick Stewart?
very. Was he's
Well,
like
apart from his head.
yeah. Well, that's the same. Like it's all the kind of the white body hair. Like you don't notice it.
They all just want. Data, is it possible to plant a command into the Borg collective consciousness? But it would require altering the pathway of the root command to bring all iterative branch.
The Worf just goes, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Shut up, you stupid machine.
Something straightforward, like disarm your weapon systems. Visual contact with the Borg.
On screen.
Magnify.
And it's right at Earth.
Yeah, it's literally above it. The Borg is just going like, I think we'll take Sweden first. No, Norway, Finland, Sweden.
They're like, there's something about that area.
I just
Something,
love Alaska.
something about the word Borg.
Water temperature on track to be. Rotate shield frequencies. Data reported. I am unable to penetrate that system's command structure now.
Systems data. See if you can get them to power down.
Acknowledge. Attempting new power subcommand path.
There's another detail I've noticed there is that Picard's armor and uniform, or like the black uniform that he was wearing, they've literally just cut it off.
Yes.
So you see there's still a little bit on his arm. You're
Torn,
like, they've
yeah.
literally just cut it off.
Yeah, I can see it now, yeah.
Structure, sir. All critical
And they've also paled him as well, I noticed.
Yeah.
ready a collision course with the Borg ship. You heard me, a collision course. Yes, sir. This is the Forge. Prepare to go to warp power. Aye, sir.
Now, they can't move when they're in the tractor beam. So how are they going to do a collision course?
Good point.
It's Captain Picard speaking, not Lucullus.
Exhausted. Yes, Doctor. But if I can make a supposition, I do not believe his message was intended to express fatigue. To suggest a course of action. Activate. Mr. Crusher. Breach. Stand by. Stand by. All stations. I'm attempting to penetrate the Borg regenerative subcommand path. It is a low priority system and may be accessible.
See, that was the difference with so when like in First Contact, when they hit like the waste pipe, essentially, that's low priority. It doesn't have the same defenses.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Data, your final report. Stand by. I can't, Mr. Data.
Warning. Interval failure imminent on decks 23, 24, and 25.
much danger.
Whoop.
Whoop. Are we dead?
Did this happen?
Where's my trombone?
What the hell happened? It misdirected them to believe it was time to regenerate. In fact,
I love how cheerful he is about that. It's like, I put him on to sleep.
And then a little sly smile. Come on, Day,
Yeah.
you mad bastard.
mineral power, electromagnetic field, non-existent. There shall be taken away team to confirm that the Borg are asleep.
I shall bring my favorite shotgun.
Mr. Ward,
Mr. Worf, do you fancy shooting 10,000 ducks? I thought you'd never ask. Jeez, Gleason gets a run out as well. Come on, Gleason. We need a red shirt. Fuck him.
He's wearing yellow.
Fuck it. It's expendable. It's fine.
jumping to Enterprise. It's true. They're all in a regeneration mode.
Any indication of how long we can keep it like this?
Any occasion why that lieutenant is following me around the room?
Trustworthy readings are fluctuating rapidly, Commander.
Jumping to Enterprise. There are indications here that their entire power has about to feed back on itself.
Yep.
I'd say we're looking at a self-destruct sequence activated by the Borg's malfunction. Do you want us to attempt to disarm it?
Stand by.
There's no way to know what the destruction of the Borg ship will do to you.
We should also consider the advantages of further examination of the Borg and their vessel, sir. I don't think so. Data, separate yourself from Captain. Wait, team, get yourselves home. Mr. Cruncher, upon their return, move us to a safe position. Aye, sir.
You see, that's a point I'd like to discuss as well, is like, what's Riker's logic there? Is the case of just destroy the Borg at all costs, or is the case of, I don't know, command's mine. It's 50-50 what happens to Picard.
I think it's more along the lines of destroy the Borg at all costs. We cannot leave this ship here for them to potentially gain control again
I'm
and
thinking that
destroy Earth.
myself, yeah. They have to be.
Life signs are stable. The DNA around the microcircuit fiber implants is returning to
Saloon doors there. Love it.
And he's just standing there in his jocks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those implants do look a lot better in the HD touch up, I must say. They look the part.
Like the
Definitely one on the
the
shoulder.
facial ones are great. Yeah.
Yeah. The ones that down his leg now are very well done.
Hmm.
Oh. And Earth is saved.
Yeah. Now, in fairness, the next Earth Station McKinley,
Yes.
refit Enterprise. Where the fuck was it?
They moved it away. It's like, whoop, let's just get this out of the way. Oh, look at that pip on this.
Mhm.
I like that it's a very subtle thing again, but they've modulated Picard's voice a little bit, so he's a little bit Borgified there.
So concerned about my next job. With all due respect, Commander, sir. My career plans are my own business. That's my options.
I hope I have the fortune.
Course for Station McKinley ready at late, sir. Thank you, John. On the line.
Now it's this part here I love.
I like to think he's obviously thinking there.
Yeah.
Jesus, what have I gone through? But I also like to think he still hears them.
That's how I always took this scene. It's a case of like there is a trace amount there.
Either he can still hear them, or why can't he hear them?
Very good point. Could be a combination of both, to be fair. Don't know. Like it's almost like in the case where, like, you know, he sort of a phantom pain of the whole thing, maybe. But yeah, that was the best of all worlds. That was a bumper episode, lads. So you'll forgive us here if we give ourselves a moment break before we start getting stuck into the review of the episode. So hopefully you enjoyed that watch along with us, and I'm sure you have your own opinions on that episode, as do most Star Trek fans, I think it's fair to say. So when we come back on the best of all worlds, we are literally going to jump in with our shipyards, our guest starring, and our all-important review of the episode. So we'll see you very, very soon. And to be continued.